Hey guys, and welcome to the Bayern View. Hope you guys are all doing well. As you can see, I'm not alone. We have Justin here from RBL Talk, a Leipzig fan, which I'm very happy to have on the channel. Again, we were saying just off camera, we don't like each other's clubs, but just because of that, don't necessarily mean that we don't like each other. Yeah, man, I brought you on just to talk about certain things, which we'll get into. But either way, thank you for coming on, and welcome to the channel, mate.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, 100, man, 100. And I know that obviously we've been trying to do this for a little bit, and the time's obviously messing us up. Obviously, you've got your own commitments in work and so on, and I get it. It's fine. It's generally fine. But yeah, I think we just hit the nail straight on the head. Obviously, there's news today. I've already made a stream about it, but obviously, you being a Leipzig fan, we definitely need to talk about it, in the fact of Xavi Simons leaning more towards your club. Obviously, he was already, he's a PSG player, but he was your player last season. Obviously, had a fantastic season, which I'll get your opinion on in a minute. But yeah, it seems like when the Euros were on, it was Bayern. And now it's seeming like you guys are not back in the race, because I think you always were anyway. But you're now like front running it. So what is your opinion on it, mate?
Yeah, so for me, I think we were always front runners to a degree if it was only going to be a loan deal, as there's no way that RB Leipzig is going to be able to do a full buy of Xavi Simons. For what PSG is asking, they're looking in the ballpark around about, I think, 70 million euro for the lowest, and then up to the high end of about 100 million euro, which, look, if he's going on value on form and also maybe potential value in future, I wouldn't expect him to be at his peak now. So you obviously would value him a little bit more higher. And a loan option to buy deal is always a bit hard to achieve, especially when it comes to clubs and players and stuff like that. I've also been informed from someone from PSG, from another podcast. They've turned around and told me that, if I remember correctly, that if they wait off this year, so if they only do a loan deal, for instance, for this season, and if they sell him next season, they don't have to actually pay PSV Eindhoven anything.
Yeah.
So because there's still like a little bit of a sell-on clause from that original deal at the moment.
Yeah. And I think that that was everything that I was saying to the people, the community here, is everyone was saying, like, but if we get Xavi Simons in, or if we buy Xavi Simons this season, does that mean we can go for Wirtz next season? And I'm like, no, I don't think that's how it works, because, again, like you've just said and hit the nail straight on the head, PSG are basically worming their way out of paying PSV any money at all in that deal. And no matter if he goes to Leipzig, Manchester United, for instance, or Bayern, it will be a loan move. Now, there might be an obligation to buy, there might be an option to buy, or just a straight up loan. But PSG, either way, will not sell him this thing. And again, on to what I said about Wirtz, I think that hurts Bayern, because if we could sign him now, would be better, because obviously we want to go for Wirtz, where we're not spending 120 million, for instance, on Wirtz and then 90 million on Xavi Simons in one window. That's not going to happen. Even being Bayern Munich, that's not going to happen. You'll know this more than anyone. We are 50 plus one. You know what I mean? We're not going to go over there and
there's a nice poke there.
I get it in there, but yeah, we're not Manchester United or City or so on, So it's just. But yeah, are you happy with the? Obviously, he hasn't signed yet, but with that news that come out.
Yeah, look, I'm happy, but I'm also not. I'm a bit on the fence, and this is actually, for those that listen to my podcast, would actually know the reasoning why, and I'll explain that why in a moment. But he's very happy at RB last year. He knows the system well. He's a fan favorite as well from all the locals and everything like that. The reasoning why I'm a little bit on the fence is that he's only a temporary solution, so to speak. So I'm looking long term that it's going to be great to have him for not only for the Bundesliga but also for the club. He's a fantastic player. Can't knock him. There's a couple of things where he needs to work on, like maybe discipline or something like that. But overall, he's one of those once in a generational talents. Now, we're not going to have him for the foreseeable future. So if we do have him, it's going to be for one season, like it was last season. But he's such a pivotal role and makeup in our play and our team, and he gives us that extra dynamic going forward as well. So that's where I look at it and go, well, then who are we going to replace him with next season?
Yes.
So this was what I was looking at the start of this season. And we signed like Udrago and a couple of other players, but it's still not on that Xavi Simons level. So it's a good problem to have, so to speak, but it's only a temporary solution. Because you could quite rightly say, depending if we didn't have him or maybe Openda last season, we could have dropped out of the top 4 quite comfortable. So, yeah, I'm happy that he's coming possibly back to the club, and it's going to be another season with him at the club, hopefully. But then I've also looked to the future, and, well, are we just going to play out the whole season without getting a good or decent enough replacement, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, no, I get you without a doubt. I know where you're coming from. Because obviously, you can't be mad in the fact of getting him in because he's a wonderful talent, of course.
Oh, absolutely.
Where you're coming from, it's the uncertainty, isn't it? I think that's the thing with Bayern Munich as a whole in this deal, because the higher ups are basically saying we want the obligation or the option to buy, not straight up loan. Even though Bayern like to do their loan, so I don't really understand why we aren't doing this, but. I guess for future, I'm really surprised he doesn't want to play for PSG. If I'm honest,
yeah. There's a few things. I've spoken to someone for the PSG podcast, and they've said to me that that they're in the same boat. Basically, that they're surprised that he doesn't want to play there. And I even said, it would make sense for if I'm putting myself in Xavi's shoes here for a moment, that I'm wanting to be there. I'm wanting to be the star man. I'm wanting the team to be built around me. So similar to what Barcelona did with Lionel Messi originally. They had him as the focal point, and then everyone built around him. So as they were so dominant for all those years. So that's exactly what I would do, and I'd be loving it as if I'm Xavi, but what's there to do? So I don't know if it's a management problem there, or if it's how the club is run or anything like that. I said the exact same thing to the PSG podcast, and it's basically it's confusing. So I know he wants to go back to Barcelona because that's where he originally had his like he's growing up at the La Masia academy there, but I mean, PSG isn't one of the worst clubs in the world, and they're certainly going to win trophies and be right up there every single season in the Champions League. So, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, no. I agree. I can't disagree with that. To be fair, but yeah, just for everybody that is watching this. But just put it up the news if you want to say, and I'll just go through that. Basically, we've already had your reaction, but just in general. So obviously, this is coming from Fabrizio Romano via his podcast. He's basically just said that he's getting very close to staying at Leipzig for another season. Leipzig are the clear favourites over Bayern Munich. It's not done yet, but Leipzig are very confident of getting it done over the next few days. And then obviously, as long as the deal isn't done, Bayern will fight. To hopefully change that situation. But I was saying to the people on this channel, I just don't see the ambition. Now that might come over really arrogant, and I can understand that. Winning 11 out of 11 is going to make me arrogant, obviously. But at the same time, I just feel like, is it the fact that he knows the players, knows the staff, knows the ownership, for instance, the manager? Obviously, he's played there. He knows I can't say that word. He's I can't speak now.
Which one?
He's like he basically knows the surroundings. What I'm trying to say, and he knows what he's going into. Where with Bayern Munich, for instance, and also you guys will play him. Without a doubt, you're going to play him. Where with Bayern, for instance, obviously he can play on the wing and he can play 10. But then you've got Thomas Muller, you've got Jamal Musiala, you've got Leroy Sané. Now, I don't think Leroy Sané should even be at my club, but whatever. That's a whole different ball game. But yeah, it definitely is an interesting point, without a doubt. Yeah, we'll see. I don't see it as him necessarily rejecting us. I know some people on the channel do, but for me, I just feel like maybe it's like I said, the fact of him knowing it and all of that, and going back there, because he's still. I feel weird saying it because I'm 26 myself, but he is still a kid in football terms. He really, really is. He's
yeah, I think he's 23 or 24 or something like that.
He's super duper young, so young. But yeah, we'll wait and see on that one. Another player. Go on. Actually,
I was going to say, I think you said pretty much perfectly well, because the only reason why I can see him choosing us to go over you guys is for the simple factors. He knows the system well enough. He knows all the players and everything like that, and he's guaranteed starter and to be the star man, so to speak.
Yeah.
And not trying to say this in a bad way, but footballers and people in general, we all have egos as well. So he's going to want to be like inflated, so it's me, it's all me, I'm the star man, I'm the star guy. Where if he goes to Bayern, and this is no knock on you guys, with all due respect, he's definitely not going to be the star man over there, and he may be playing on the bench or coming off the bench, and that's something that he just absolutely hates. So that's the only reason why I would say that he would be going to us, and that's basically because he's going to be guaranteed to be playing like 34 games, basically, essentially, as a starter player.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And obviously, with your manager, he's been there for a little bit now, if you want to say. And obviously we've got Vincent Kompany, and I'm going to get your opinion on that in a minute as a Bundesliga rival. But like in general, we don't know what's going to happen. His last job, he just got the club relegated that he was with in the Premier League. So, then it's a massive, massive jump. So maybe Xavi Simons is looking at that and being like, it definitely is an interesting point. But what do you make of Vincent Kompany to Bayern?
I was a bit shocked, actually, to tell you the truth straight away, because Bayern is one of the best clubs in European football, and obviously in Germany. So for them to be looking out for a manager, that just screams, like success. Like, I'm going to go to Germany, I'm going to win some titles. And as for a manager, that's what you want. And for them to only pull Vincent Kompany, who is still a very new manager to a degree as well, and being relegating, I think it was Burnley or something like that last season in the EPL, which is absolutely wild. You relegate an EPL team and then you can coach one of the most successful teams in European football. Interesting. But hey, if you've got that opportunity, I'd say jump right ahead for it. I mean, I know I would, regardless of, who I support. So that in its own right is a little wild. And the only thing I can think of is why Vincent Kompany was the only one that sort of got the job, so to speak, was it sort of seemed like there's a little bit of damage from this is coming from my perspective, from the old management of like the CEO, I think it was like Oliver Kahn and whatever, for how you treated Tuchel and Nagelsmann, and you've got those type of quality of like players, and they don't want to be, they're scared off, so to speak, that they might only have a job for 3 months or something like that. So because they would understand, and obviously I understand as well, that Bayern demands success. So if you are not at a certain point, like for instance, if you guys are sitting mid-table by friggin' January, there's no way he's, or whoever is coaching, is going to still be sitting there. It's just not acceptable. And look, I liked his style of play. It was very attacking and very good pressing. Reminded me of a little bit of like Klopp at Liverpool, and also to an extent him at Dortmund. So if you guys can get his actual play style in, like you guys will be fine. It'll just be really interesting to see how he goes as a first-time manager, and really, which I would say his really first gig, so to speak. Because this is, well, make it or break it. If I stuff this up, I might not be a manager for very many top clubs in the future. So he's got a little bit to prove, but I think company could possibly do it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's a massive risk. Like it just is. When you go from Julian Nagelsmann, who obviously you all know, he was obviously the manager of your club, and then obviously comes to us, and whatever's happened after that is just whatever. But then we get Tuchel, and then you go from these managers who are somewhat established, if you want to say, to someone that's just got a club relegated in the quote unquote best league in the world, which I disagree with.
Yeah, the Bundesliga is. I'm just going to say it out.
It's mad.
Yeah.
But another player I wanted to ask you about, because Xavi Simons if this deal didn't go through, we were looking at Almo, I believe is how you say his name, Danny Almo. What do you think of him? Because I, as a rival fan, I think he's very good. Obviously, you stopped Harry Kane winning the trophy in the straight away in the first ever game this season or in the calendar. I think he's good, but I think he's very injury prone. What do you think?
No, spot on. He's very injury prone. If he's fit, it's one of those devastating plays that he can play as an attacking midfielder, can drift a little bit wide, has great eye for the pass and can see the play before it even happens. He's a clinical finisher, and he can just do some freaky things on the pitch that you wouldn't expect anyone else. Like, he's called El Mago for a reason, which is Spanish for the magician, if I remember correctly. So he wants a new challenge, but he's still quite happy at RB Leipzig. So the option is there for him to still be sold. I do believe that the deal now for €60 million release clause has ended.
Yes.
I believe so. I think that ended around about 4 days ago or something like that as of recording. So look, if he's fit, yes, but that's the big if he's fit. There's no point getting a good player, regardless of what you're going to be paying them, €60 million to grab them, and then, I don't know, say what, €150 million a week minimum, on then sitting them on the bench or then in recovery or rehab, most of the season. So if you're paying for the value that you're getting, for a team like Bayern, it doesn't make any sense, so to speak. If he's going to be fit and he's going to play a majority of the season for you, fantastic. Same thing with any club around the world, where we can sort of take that little bit of a gamble, because yes, we've still got good players, but it's a very good addition to have. So we can take that risk of, we're not going to be able to have him for most of the season, but when he did come in, especially at the start of the season when we beat you in the Super Cup, we've got that, that trump card, so to speak, up our sleeves. So, it's one of those things where if he's fit, yeah, but I wouldn't even pay €60 million, depending on his fitness. I'd probably bring that down to maybe 45 plus add-ons, maybe 55 or something like that, only because of injuries. But Leipzig's going to probably turn around and ask for more than €60 million, depending on, because of how well he played in the Euros as well, and these back end season of at Leipzig as well. So, not to mention being a very hard player to replace.
Yeah, no. I understand exactly where you're coming from, and that's the problem with it. It's like, why are they looking? Well, I understand why they're looking as him as a replacement for Xavi Simons if that deal collapses, which obviously looks like he's coming to you guys now. But at the same time, talent-wise, yeah, 100%. But he gets way too injured. He's way too injury prone. So that that's just going to screw us over. And again, like you said, that sort of money that you guys are going to be demanding, you're not going to be spending that on a player that's going to be injury prone, for instance. yeah, that again is an interesting one. I know a lot of people on this channel absolutely love him and they want him in, and I understand it, like talent wise, of course, and obviously he's just done amazing for Spain. I think he's one of the reasons they want it personally, but at the same time, it is that difficult stance with it, because I know that his agent has already spoken to, I believe, Barca, obviously Bayern Munich. And then I believe a Premier League club. Not that I'm not sure which one that is.
Might have been Man City, but I know I've seen something about Man City. I don't know if it was actual talk spoken to or if it was as in like them saying that we're happy to go there, but they haven't reciprocated the return of communication back. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Man City, if I remember right.
Mad. Do you imagine them in the Pep Guardiola system because they fit? Wow.
Wow. No, mate. City's already scary enough, mate, without adding someone like that to the fold.
Yeah. You're not wrong. And one other thing I want to ask you on, obviously being a fellow Bundesliga watcher, if you want to say, we're somehow looking to get rid of de Ligt. I don't really understand whatsoever why, and bring in Jonathan Tah. Do you think Jonathan Tah is good enough to play for Bayern?
I do, but I don't think you should be doing a swap or sacrificing de Ligt for him. I think de Ligt is still a better player. I think he's younger. I can't remember. But look, I know there's been a little bit of criticism. I've seen it on social media about de Ligt and stuff like that. But I mean, look, sometimes he's out of form, and I think you guys paid like record fee somewhere in the up 90 million euro or something like that. I know something shocking from Juve, but look, yeah, I think Tah's acceptable to play for Bayern. I don't think you should be swapping or dropping out de Ligt for him. I think you should still keep him, but what do I know? I'm a Leipzig supporter. He's a fantastic defender. Both of them are, but I rate de Ligt higher than Jonathan Tah.
Yeah. No. I 100%, 1 billion% agree. I think Tah is a very good player. But at the same time, I don't know if it's more the fact that just because he's German, we're looking to bring him in. We haven't had a German player for a while now being a centre-back. We've got a young lad called Bookman, but he's riddled with injuries, left, right and centre. And then obviously, we've seen what's happened with our defences. It's, good for you guys watching it, but not necessarily us watching it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting again to see what's going to happen. I don't know why they're like, from a business perspective, I understand why, because you're getting 15 million wage wise completely off. You're obviously going to get a good fee for him because he's super young still, and then obviously you're getting a player that is injury prone off the books, and then you're bringing in someone like Tah who isn't injury prone, so on. But there is obviously a different levels in performance, which in itself is just silly, really. But I understand where they're coming from without a doubt, because one or two more injuries, and you're not getting the same money for de Ligt. And I get why the fans are thinking that. What are you as a Leipzig fan expecting from this season? Because obviously the upcoming season, shall I say? Because obviously Bayern went back to back with 11. Then obviously we lost. Well, we should have actually lost the other one to Dortmund, but they bottled it on the last day. And then obviously Leverkusen had their ridiculous run. I feel like the next couple of years, especially with Kompany, unless he gets it completely right, could be a couple different winners. I can see you guys getting a lot stronger. I can see Leverkusen, if Xavi Alonso stays, even though I think he's going to go to Real. It's going to be nuts. So what are you expecting from the season, and do you think you can win the league?
What I'm expecting for the season, so obviously I'll be doing a preview show for my own podcast in a couple of weeks' time for that. But just in a nutshell, it's top 4 minimum. So I expect to play European Championship football. So there's that. I don't think that we're strong enough to win the Bundesliga. I still think that Bayer Leverkusen will be the team to beat, with you guys in hot pursuit. Obviously, depending on how company goes, you guys do have all the personnel to be winning the trophies and the Bundesliga in whole. So, and going deep into Europe, uh, I think that getting deep into the Pokal would probably be the most biggest, that and the Champions League, because you bring in revenue through the Champions League, finishing places, and the same thing domestically for the Pokal. So that would be my two main targets, to go as far as possible with those, like semi-finals or something like that, and maybe round of 16 for the Champions League, depending on who we draw, because the Champions League has got a different format this year. And then I would say top four in the Bundesliga itself to secure Champions League football again for the season after. I see us probably finishing fourth or third, depending on if Stuttgart will hold up and they get a couple of signings like Udav and a few other players, and also seeing if they drop off or not. But yeah, I predict that us to be top four, and that's what I would like. And you guys easily first or second. Really depends on how Leverkusen go and also company.
Yeah. That was actually about to be my next question. What do you think Bayern will do? But I know exactly where you're coming from. It's all going to depend on how company does, obviously, and how Leverkusen do. Are they going to be a one season wonder? Because they've gone undefeated, which is disgusting. You know what I mean? It really is. There's one thing them winning it in the first season with him, but then there's going undefeated as well. It's just nuts. Like, they realistically should have given them a golden trophy. I don't know why they didn't.
Yeah, I actually thought they were giving him a golden trophy, to be blatantly honest. I was a bit shocked that they didn't. And yeah, from a Bundesliga perspective, as a whole, or worldwide football, it's not ugly, but for us as supporters of other Bundesliga clubs, yeah, it's absolutely disgusting that they managed to go through undefeated. I mean, we had a couple of. I think our first time that we had a chance of beating them last season was maybe match day 3 or 4 or something. It was the first 4 match days, and we actually at the Bay Arena, if I remember correctly, and we had a good chance to win that game, but we just weren't good enough. So, and hats off to them. They were well drilled, and but it's a new season ahead. So, and I think they've got some different ins and outs. So, it'd be interesting to see if they can retain their form, because they might have overachieved. For something like that, I expect that from Bayern. And that's not me just trying to be nice and buddy you up or anything like that. I actually expect that from a team like Bayern. That's what I would say that would be one of your expectations, would be like, we want to be at this level and then just completely keep it. Now, there's no knock on Leverkusen. They did absolutely fantastic, but it's a different season. Anything's possible.
Yeah, and obviously they're going to be in the Champions League now, which is obviously the Champions League as a whole has changed now. The format's changed, but just the fact that they're not going to be going against the, in quote, weaker opponents in the Europa League. They are going to be going against some of the big boys. Obviously, there's still weaker teams in there, from all around the world. But yeah, it's going to be a crazy one. I really don't know what to think of this new Champions League format, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I haven't gone through it in depth. I'm saving that for my previous show for the season. But look, it's going to be interesting and a bit of an adjustment as well, because we expanded it with the teams and we have that group stage, or it's sort of like the NFL in America or something like that, or I think even MLS do the same thing, like they've got their 2 different regions and then they've got like a full like league or something. So I think only if I remember right, the top 8 teams automatically qualify for the round of 16. Now, I don't expect, well, you guys probably could get into that top 8, but I don't expect RB Leipzig to be getting automatic qualification. So and I think it's the top 24 teams or something like that, or 20 teams go through or something. I've got it written down already for my previous show. I've only gone through it, like skimmed through. So
yeah. It definitely is going to be an interesting one, and I'm a sucker for if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
Like I like the way that it was You get the group that you're in, and obviously you know how it works, of course. But and then you get the opponents if you go through and whatever. But it's definitely going to be a weird one. And obviously UEFA isn't perfect. That's why the Super League was a thing, and obviously still is a thing somewhat. So maybe this is better from them, to be honest. And I one thing I do like. Not that Bayern have actually dropped down to the Europa League, but just more the fact that there is no teams dropping down now. I always felt bad for the Europa League teams because, a big boy, for instance, let's just say a Bayern, for instance, if they had a shocker in those games, they drop down, and that's pretty much their competition.
Well, that's right. Yeah, it's unfair on them. Like, you have you always got like one group of death. I think one year it was like, Madrid, PSG, and Dortmund or something like that. And, one of those teams still going down into Europa League, and then, you're, second or third or whatever in, a different lower league for without picking a random league. Like, that's gonna, suck, to put it, nicely. You come up against one of those, it's like, well, we got through the main group stage, so to speak, and now we're playing you. Like why turn up? Like,
yeah, exactly. Might as well just forfeit.
Yeah.
Last thing I did want to ask you though, was Date of Mancano. Obviously we bought him from you. He was amazing for you. And yeah, what do you expect? Not expect, that's not the word. What do you think of his whole Bayern tenure? Because a lot of people on this channel and around social media just clown him and everything. And I think he's a wonderful player, but
yeah,
not doing it.
Yeah, so I think he hasn't lived up to the same expectations of one, Bayern, and two, he hasn't really carried over his performance from RB Leipzig. He did a little bit in the beginning, but then it quickly dropped off. And look, going back to earlier when you said, getting rid of Delete to get Jonathan Tah, if you're going to get rid of anyone, just get rid of that Upamecano. So, and that's no knock on him either. He's a great, centre back. But if you're looking at it for form perspective wise, I think Delete only gets the stick that he does because he's such a high quality defender. So he's more prone to, scrutinised, in world football, where Upamecano is still a good defender, but he's nowhere in that I'd say Delete caliber, so he wouldn't be getting as many knocks. But I've seen a lot of knocks from Bayern supporters, and even myself. I've just seen him and just gone, "What are you doing?" Like, that's just not how he plays. So I don't know if he's just form slump or if he's past it or what is. But yeah, you're certainly not getting out the value out of him from what you paid, and he's. If maybe a loan spell possibly even could help, as a confidence thing or something. Like, who knows?
Yeah. No, without a doubt. I think, under Julian Nagelsmann, obviously he was already playing under him, if I'm right by saying. And then obviously he comes over to us, and you're right. He was actually playing really, really well, and I think he was actually having a great season. Obviously, they sat Julian Nagelsmann, brought Tuchel in, and then that's where he had his main mess up against Manchester City. High stakes game, knockout game against City, where they obviously go on to win the whole thing, win a treble, and then you get. I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, people in the comments. I believe it was a Saudi commentator that then went on and called him Upper Maguire, which we all know that Harry Maguire is nothing short of a donkey.
I don't even know how he got into the England squad, to be honest.
No, 100. So yeah, like, then obviously people are just going to run with that. People like to hate Bayern as it is. Farmers League, this, blah blah blah, whatever. And then it's crazy. I think he's a great player. I just think he's turning into the modern day Pogba. And what I mean by that is he's really good for France. I actually think he had a wonderful competition, Euros. Fantastic Euros, in my opinion. But he just doesn't do it for club. I understand why you do it for country, without a doubt. The honour of, representing your country and so on. I get it. But, like, they don't pay you what we pay you, if that makes any sense. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's on that, but we'll have to see what happens. One last thing, actually. What do you think on Bayern signing Ito? because I feel like it come out of nowhere, out of the blue. One of my good friends that have come from this channel was actually calling for him to sign before we signed ligt, if I'm right by saying. What do you think on Ito? Do you think he's good enough?
Good enough, possibly. I mean, I'm no scout. I mean, I did actually look up Dure before you guys were even into him a couple of months ago, actually, as a Xavi Simons replacement on my show and also on social media. But if you're getting a player like you guys, I'm looking at your scouts now. You are looking at players and you're buying them. You're not buying them because they can't make the cut. Now, will he play the starting 11 or will he just play reserves or what? That's going to be the big question. So I think that he probably does have it to play for Bayern. It will be really when he gets his opportunity, is he going to keep his spot, as basically what I would put it down to. So, and, you might have just gotten him for squad depth, or, it could be like one of those players that could overperform over their expectations and things like that as well. So, look, with all new signings, with all clubs, especially the opposition in the Bundesliga, I do take a bit of notice, and it'd be interesting to see how he performs throughout this Bundesliga season.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen. Obviously, the whole fallout of the Alphonso Davies situation, which I generally can't stand him at this moment in time. Then we've got Guerrero, which we obviously got from Dortmund. I don't know if he's necessarily a starting left back, in my opinion. Obviously, Ito is a centre back, but can play left back, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that. But yeah, thank you for coming on.
No, you're more than welcome.
For giving me your time. And again, if you ever need me, you just message me. We'll work on the time and everything. But yeah, let the people that will be watching this, let them know where they can find you. So yeah, man.
Yeah, so my name is Justin Crozer. I am the host of the RBL Talk English-speaking podcast for RB Leipzig. You can go to rbltalk.com, or you can just search RBL Talk on all social media.
Yeah, there we go, people. There we go. One thing that will be said straight away is and I should have said it at the start, in the title, I will put the to the YouTube channel. Go over there, subscribe, and obviously all the links are on there as well. So yeah, make sure to do that. Again, thank you for coming on. Yeah, man, it's been a really, really good one. I've enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Let us know what you think in the comments, people. And until then, we'll see you on the next one. Mia San Mia. Peace out.